I am here with Alex from Podcast Now, fantastic friend of mine. Links are in the description to all of his stuff. Personal friend, does great work here on YouTube. And we are going to be talking today about a movie that seems intent on self termination. I don't understand what is going on with this film in terms of Marvel, in terms of Disney. How. I am at a loss for words. Black Widow has been delayed again. You know, the last time they delayed it, they had released a statement saying that they were committed to it coming to theaters, and I believe they said pretty much exclusively to theaters that they were committed on it being a theatrical release. But they appear to have pivoted yet again. This is like the third or fourth delay for Black Widow. I've lost track at this point. It is now coming out July 9th in select theaters, whichever ones will play it, I suppose. And also Disney Plus. I was going to say HBO Max for a second because I'm too much in the Warner Bros. Mindset from previous videos. But this is coming to Disney Plus for the, just absolute bargain of a premiere access for $30, even though I pay $20 a month to get AMC Stubs Premiere. I get to go to 3 movies every single week in a theater where I never have to come within 10 feet of anyone. And it's very safe. But, you know, since we're still in this mindset where nothing is safe, you can't go anywhere, or you're a murderer, I suppose, you know, people will be willing to shell out $30 at home to watch this movie. Now, no hate to you if you really want to, but I truly think that this is a waste of money. Like, these at home, watch it on your couch, pay $30 to just, you know, rent this movie, get a glorified movie rental. I don't understand the appeal, especially, like I said, when there's movie theater memberships where I can see 12 movies a month for less money than you're paying to watch this one.
You know, on my channel, we did, I think, a 3-part. We did a trilogy. We completed the trilogy about movie theaters. So we're no strangers to talking about, you know, the stuff around the world that's, you know, what's affected it. But it's tough. I've said it before, you know, these delays mentally, in terms of my anticipation, they destroy it. Okay. The only movie that I can think of, 2 movies, Uncharted and Fast 9 or F9. Those are the 2 movies that they could delay them like 30 times and I probably still wouldn't care all that much. I'd still be just as excited. And Uncharted is kind of like because I want to see if it'll fail or not even because I think it's going to be so good. But yeah, I mean, this, it kind of just shows to me like this isn't a, well, it's tough. I don't want to get myself in trouble. Like, I get that watching it at home is beneficial in a lot of different ways. I know there are still people that don't want to go out to theaters. I understand all that, but like the fact, like you just said, they were so hell bent, and then they said, oh well, you know, it's gonna actually be actually I don't know if you saw this, Jay. Like last week they said, well now it's gonna be like a last second decision. So before it was we're for sure May, we're sticking with May, it's not gonna change, and then last week it was like, well, the decision will be made kind of last second whether it actually happens, and now here we go. I guess last second doesn't exactly mean, you know, that like that month or that week, which is actually kind of good. But it's like, to me, it just shows like this movie, is it not a movie theater kind of movie? You know what I mean? It's, to me, it actually hurts. It's more funny when you look at all the other movies that got delayed with it, because there are like 5 other movies that got delayed with Black Widow. And they're just kind of, and one of them happens to be Shang-Chi, right? Which is a movie that some people may be interested in at some point in their lives. Eternals is not one, but Eternals, there's no way that movie comes out in November. It's a disaster. It's just a disaster. I don't think half these movies are going to end up just on the streaming service or maybe also in movie theaters, but it's just annoying. You know, you and I have talked about it a bunch of times before. I don't know how I'll see this movie. I would like to see it in theaters. Who knows what the state of the world will even be like in July, but it's not surprising. I mean, anybody that has a kind of free thought probably assumed that this would eventually happen, right? There was talk of like, well, are they not allowed to put on Disney Plus? Like, do you have to put it on, you know, like in movie theaters first? And then, yeah, the final nail in the coffin of making it $30. They have to pay I mean, Mulan failed, that Raya and the Last Dragon. I don't really know who watched that movie. So, like, it's not, I mean, HBO Max is doing the right thing. You pay the money and you get to see what goes on there. Not that you pay the money, or you pay the money plus like ESPN and Hulu and stuff, which you can get those bundles as well. And then you still have to pay money on top of it. So, sucky situation. I don't even know how I'm going to watch it now because I'm going to be visiting my family at the time. So, it's just a huge mess for me too.
Yeah, I've actively decided not to watch any of the movies that do this in terms of on Disney Plus, no matter what. Like, I just don't have an interest in it. Now, maybe at some point in the future, if that was the only option, sure. But in terms of right now, I don't have an interest. And they're throwing away a lot of goodwill with me by the constant, oh, it'll happen, it'll happen, it'll happen. JK, we're changing it. JK, we're changing it. Oh, it'll happen. Okay, no, 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 we're changing it again. It's just obnoxious, I think, to moviegoers, especially to me. I'm not saying like, oh, I only have so much time. My time is so important, but it just feels like they don't care, I guess, about this movie at this point, which is really weird because I would say Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow has deserved a solo movie for a long, long time. This is a character that should have gotten a solo movie 5 years ago. This is very late for this to even happen, but a lot of people were excited to see it, and I think that excitement is rapidly fading. I know it is for me. I'm still interested in the movie because of the character. I love this character in the MCU, really enjoy her, but just the constant shifting, it really kills any hype around this movie. And I do think too, like for example with Raya and the Last Dragon, I actually did see it, but not on the not on Disney Plus. I had a free ticket, so I went and saw it at AMC, and I took my fiance with me, and we watched it there, and we liked it. But that's a movie we wouldn't have watched at all if we couldn't have gone to the movie theater. I understand that I'm probably a small minority in terms of putting my foot down on this, but it just seems like such a, I guess, disrespectful move to the consumer to charge them this much for so little. You don't own the movie, by the way, if you pay this money. It's not like you own the film. They're not going to ship you a disc or anything like that. And speaking of that, not to get totally off track, but Disney's been throwing away a lot of goodwill with movie fans in general by just borderline discontinuing some of their physical releases. Like, a lot of stores have moved the MCU movies just straight up out, and it seems to be a coordinated effort. I don't know if it's by Disney, but there were reports last year of Disney making coordinated efforts to move their physical stuff off of shelves that wasn't toys or games, so that their movies were not on the shelf anymore, so that they would be just on Disney Plus, and if you wanted to watch it, you went to Disney Plus. I don't understand some of the mindset behind this. I mean, if you want to short print things a little bit, like let's say you only want to make half the physical copies of Black Widow because you don't think people are buying physical enough, I do actually understand that, right? You're eliminating cost on the front end for how much you're putting out, and then you're selling all that stuff, and it's better to leave the consumer wanting more versus leave a million units of a Blu-ray on a shelf and no one bought it and you lost that money, right? I understand that, but they almost seem to be going a coordinated effort to move everything to Disney Plus, like ignore theaters, ignore physical releases, physical collectors, ignore people who want the theater experience, ignore people who maybe don't want to pay the amount of money for Disney Plus. And you have to think too, if their argument is that for these streaming services, which has been the argument for a long time, hey, some of us can't afford the theater. Okay, well, here's the thing. You could have watched this movie for $10, $11 in a theater if you just decided not to get food, or you brought some in your pocket. Seriously, everybody does it. You very easily could have paid $10, $11, not joined anything, watched this movie. Now you have a $40 buy-in. You have to pay the Disney Plus subscription and then this on top of it. It all just seems so misguided to me, I guess, Alex, and I don't understand why they're going this direction. I feel like it's very short-sighted, and I think that some of it's desperation because of situations with their parks being closed and stuff, but I don't know if throwing out all this goodwill and pissing off people who are loyal to the brand over and over again, is it really worth it?
Right. No, and I agree with you. I think the only way this is like beneficial to you now, like, so someone like me, it actually almost becomes borderline the same amount of money, which is why it's tough. And I do stand with you, right? I side with Jay. You could do a hashtag, but I agree with you. I agree with the movie theater experience. For me, it's like, okay, so I have me, my wife, and my daughter. So there's three of us. I mean, even for you guys right now, right? It's you and Jill, so it's two. So the money, I mean, yeah, if you go to the theater, it's like $30 there, $30 at home. But like you said, there's also the subscription of Disney Plus every month, right? And then you got to say, well, is Falcon and Winter Soldier, is that worth the extra, to kind of fill in the money? So if you have a family of 4, of 5, if I had more people, which more girls is not ideal. If you do that, it's like, holy Jesus, then yeah, it becomes a better thing to watch at home. But still, you miss out on the movie theater experience. I said it with Wonder Woman. I didn't like 1984. There was like 1,000 problems with that movie. But if I would have seen it in theaters, would it have been better? I do think it would have. I still can think, and so I still do think I would have like found flaws in the logic of wishes and all of the stuff that they did. But like the spectacle of it would have like probably impressed me a lot more than it would on my TV. And my TV is pretty darn good, and not everybody even has a good TV. So yeah, you have that aspect of it. You can go down, which we won't, but you could go down the political aspect of like, well, if you think about it, which is kind of funny. No, I don't remember what the day was. Was it May 8th? Was that the original day? Whatever it was like it's a 2-month delay. What is going to change all that much from May 8th, let's say, to July 9th? Like, what is going to be that massive change that they're looking for? I don't know. Same thing with why I hate when movies like Morbius, it just delays itself for like 30 years. But what changes between October of this year and like February of next year? Like what? And Uncharted, I mentioned that earlier. Uncharted was supposed to come out in July, which would have been awesome. Now it comes out in February. Well, like, couldn't you have put it to like September? Like, what do you like? I guess maybe they didn't want to do that to then delay it again. But again, going down that political side to it, you could argue about are movie theaters safe versus they aren't safe. Jay and I have made our stance on that, I think, enough times for people to know. But there's that side of it as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a joke. I don't even know. I mean, I guess I'll watch it I don't know, because like I said, I'll be with my family. So actually there'll probably be like 7 or 8 of us. So it does make more sense to watch it at home. But like, is that how I want to watch Black Widow? No, not really. And like what you said too, it's like, do I even care anymore? I still do. I don't care a lot, but I still care a little bit. But I mean, at some point you delay a movie, I think 3 times. It just it's flat out annoying.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you delay it so much that there's a point where the consumer is just kind of like forgetting it's coming out, actually.
Yeah, it feels old. It'll feel old. Like Wonder Woman, in a way, it didn't feel super old, but I guess even if you're on the internet age and you heard what they said, like where the movie kind of will age bad the longer they wait for it, and then you go in thinking like that, you can kind of see like, yeah, maybe this movie kind of is a little old.
I know, and the reason you hear me typing here is just because I wanted to bring something up to make a point to you as like a joke, and I had to make sure I muted it so it's not in the footage. But the final trailer for Marvel Studios' Black Widow came out in March 9th of 2020.
Nice.
The final trailer, and they pointed that out.
Beautiful. And Shang-Chi doesn't even have a trailer yet.
Yep, nothing. It's just being mishandled. It's crazy to me. I don't know if this stuff is really going to end up being worth it. I can see too, like with Disney Plus, I can see the show format being worth it. WandaVision, and now, without getting into specifics, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yes, there are effects in it. Yes, I would say they are movie level effects, but I would also say that things are pivoted away from so that they don't have to put as much budget into it, right? Like, we're not going to see Thanos type thing, I don't think, in any of the Marvel TV shows on screen, where it's going to take millions of dollars to just fund this one character to make him believable looking, which we would see in Endgame or something, right? There's just heavier effects in those movies. Those movie effects were sustained by the theater, by the ticket price and by how many people would see it multiple times. You can't even get that on Disney Plus. If I watch Black Widow multiple times, you're not getting more money for it, So there's a lot of things that they're losing out on with this model and with the direction they seem to be going. And just with this movie in general, not to like hit with a really weird gender argument, but I think it's kind of disrespectful too, with how much they pushed things like the hype behind Captain Marvel and like, oh, we're finally going in on female superheroes. And then the hype behind Black Widow, we're finally giving her movie, which she deserved years ago. But they just keep delaying it and acting like it's unimportant. I mean, which is it? Which is it, Disney? Which is it, Marvel? Is this an important movie that should be coming out that people should see and support Scarlett Johansson, and that'll move, superhero movies forward like Wonder Woman did, and give more incentive to make, female-centered stories in superheroes like they keep saying? Or is this an unimportant, drop in the sea to make a little bit of cash and move on. I mean, I think we both know what they really think, but my point is just you keep saying this one thing and doing the opposite. And Disney's getting really good at that in the last 5 years, and it's starting to get really irritating.
Yep, no, totally. I was gonna bring in the gender thing too. Yeah, look how they treat look how they treat Gina Carano. Look how they treat Scarlett Johansson here. Yeah, it's messed up, man. I really don't know. We've talked about all the different aspects of it. Movie theaters are safe. Again, not to go too far into that, but they're losing out on stuff. We're losing out on certain experiences too. And like you said, the long term ramifications too are like, well, what does this mean for budgets of movies and stuff going forward? You can't. I mean, there are some interesting paths forward, right? Like I think of like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like I like make a spin-off movie, make a spin-off show on Disney Plus. Like you can totally do that. But like what you just said with the Thanos thing, I mean, that's interesting, right? We could never get Pirates 6, like with Davy Jones back, with Jack back. That would never work for Disney. They would never make that with Disney Plus in mind. It would be with movie theaters in mind. And if we're heading towards a world where there are no movie theaters, it's just Disney Plus, and we need to self-correct, we can't go too high up there, well, then we may never get, for Pirates, it'd be like that. It'd be like a Thanos kind of level for that, right? So it's like, or even Dark Side for Justice League. You know what I mean? So you have to think about the long-term effects too.
Yeah, you really do. And you have to think, I know there's going to be some people that say, and I've heard this argument, I think it's a little bit of a tired argument. The idea of like, well, maybe this will just lead to, only good movies being produced because they can't take the chances on bad ones. Or, oh, well, maybe they won't over rely on CGI and stuff too. And it's like, sure, those are good things, in theory. But when it comes down to, in practice, what actually happens is instead they will pass on certain concepts that they just deem not profitable. Like if they have an amazing Superman script, but it's like, oh, but in this movie, he has to fight this giant monster for 5 minutes, and that's going to cost you $100 million to make this 5-minute scene. They're going to be like, yeah, no. And they'll either cut that out and make the movie worse and eliminate whatever thematic elements were supposed to be there that made the movie better, or they'll just pass on the movie for something cheaper. And then you have this idea of almost like the asylum films type thing, where it's like trying to parrot other ideas or trying to take cheap concepts and make as much money as possible off of them instead of providing, massive entertainment and making a bunch of money off of that. Imagine if Endgame was made as cheaply as possible. It wouldn't be as good of a movie. It just wouldn't. That's how this works. I'm sorry if you don't like how much money goes into these things, but some of them need it. And if we don't have that, we're not going to see these movies. I think Black Widow is a prime example of this, where it's like probably just not going to do well. And then it's just another death nail in like the idea of, are these movies worth making, or should we just cut the budget in a third and make shows only? I think that a combination's good, but I think that the consumer is sending the wrong message to Disney. And I think that Disney, even if the consumer was sending the right message, as they've shown with Star Wars, would have no idea what to do with it anyway. So it just comes back to them and my frustration. And do you have any final thoughts before we end this? Because I feel like I could just keep rambling.
No, I mean, I agree with that last part. They don't know what to do with the good ideas for Star Wars, the justice for Johnny Depp, stuff like that. They push that right aside, and they have their own path they're going down.
Yeah. I think it's a mistake, but they certainly do. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Are you still excited for Black Widow? Do you care that it just keeps getting delayed like into infinity? What are your thoughts here? Do you care about the whole movie theater discussion? The idea of, the money having to make cheaper things, or do you think that would be better? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this and subscribe for more content. Alex's stuff is all down there in the description. Fantastic friend of mine, makes great stuff over on his channel, Podcast Now. So I hope you'll check that out, and his social media links in the description. Have a fantastic day, everyone. And as always, stay shway.